So Firefox has some cool tools. Specifically, Firefox has a set of web developer tools which can be very useful and basically can do exactly what we're looking for right now. You can access them up here from the Tools menu. We can also just click on the image and tell it to inspect elements. So this is just the image that I had created, opened in Firefox. Now we've got a bunch of options down here. I actually prefer to have this on the side of the browser window, but you can also disconnect it altogether if you prefer that. It doesn't really matter, whatever works for you. All right, so first off, I'm going to go into the toolbox options because what I need is a ruler, and by default, it's not on. So where are the rulers? There it is, toggle rulers for the page. And so now up top, now I have a ruler button. There we go, and this is what I wanted, what I needed. So now what I can do is I can resize my browser so that my image is at the tip top of the window. And now I should roughly be able to figure out about where the coordinates are for the rectangle element. Now, if you have like Photoshop or something else, you can find these coordinates through that too, but if you don't, this is a free way based on something that you probably already have installed on your machine. So on the rulers here, you've got the markers of 100 pixels shown here, and then we have in between there, we have 50 by 50, and then each one of those that's a little bit smaller is by 10, and then within those is by 5. Of course, we can zoom into this as well, and that might help a little bit too, maybe. And we can try to figure out sort of where this would be. So I'm thinking 10, 20, 30, so it starts at 30 on the X value, and maybe around 10 on the Y value, so 10 by 30. So we'll say 10 by 30. And we don't need to set all the points of the rectangle, we just set the starting point and then the ending point. So the ending point would be probably 100 on the X, and let's see, 90, 80, so maybe 80 on the Y. 180. All right, and we can see if it worked, although we need to tell it to go somewhere. So this is, so we'll go to oxford.html, which doesn't exist yet, and that's okay. It can just take me to a broken link. And if I view this in Safari, let's see if it works. There we go. So if I hover my mouse over this general area, you can see that it is a rectangle. Now, it looks like my coordinates are a little off. I think I got the X and the Y flipped. Let's try that again. So 30 by 10 and 80 by 100. Refresh. There we go. So the first value is the X, and the second value is the Y. Oh yeah, I knew that. Why did I type it wrong? It doesn't matter. So X and Y, right? So you can see now that my rectangle defines that pretty well. Now you might want to make the hotspot, as we tend to call them, a little larger than the actual element because people aren't always accurate in how they click. So just keep that in mind. Better to be a little larger than you intend than a little smaller. Probably, usually. So if we click, we can try it out. Perfect. So it worked. It can't find the page, but it did try to go there. Oh, and now you can see the box. It's rather big, isn't it? It's a little bigger than I want it to be. But that's okay. I can just adjust it a little bit. Maybe by 80. We'll save that and check it in a moment. The next area shape that we can use is the circle, which we call a circle. And it also needs a set of coordinates, and it will also have a hyperlink reference. Now the circle works a little differently. We do need 3 numbers. We need the X and Y of the circle itself. So X, Y, and then we need the radius. So if we go back to our image file in Firefox, we can kind of look here, and it looks like, which one should I do? I guess I'll do this one. It looks like the center would be around 155 on the X, and, well, we want to include London in there too, so maybe not quite, maybe just 150 by maybe 60. So the X would be 150, and this would be 60. And how big do we want the radius to be? So if that's about here, going to there, and we want it to stretch down to about here, that's about 40. And this one would go to london.html. All the letters, please. Save it. And let's refresh it. And now we have a circle here. That looks pretty good, I think. So if we click on it, great. Went to, well, tried to find London and couldn't. There you go. You can see the circle. It's a little more off than I wanted, but it's okay. We can adjust it a little bit and take a look at it in a few minutes. So I want the X to be a little further over. I do like the Y spot though, maybe down just a little bit, maybe 65. And if we look at this one, that's looking pretty good, but I do want Oxford to actually be picked up in there. So the X needs to go over a little bit further. So X1, Y1, X2, Y2. So maybe this is by 90. There we go, that looks good. Well, too much. 165. Refresh. Yeah, that's okay. Still not great. Playing with circles can be a little tricky, especially when it doesn't quite fit the shape that you're working with, but it is what it is. It works as a decent example. That's all right. Okay, so now let's do the last one. The last one is a polygon. So the shape is equal to poly, and of course we need chords again, and we need an href, and this will be, what one will this be? This will be, oh, that's Dorset, which is not on this map. Now the coordinates for this are a little different. Basically we just decide how many we need. So x1, y1, x2, y2, and we can just set however many we deem necessary to define this shape. So maybe I use 4 because maybe it's going to be sort of a weird diamond shape. So if I go back here, I want, I think my first one to be, let's see, 100, 90, 80, maybe 85. So that's 85 on the Y. The X is, what, 20? Around 20. And the next spot will be here-ish. That's about 50, maybe about 45 on the X2, so 45. And the Y is around 110. The third spot, well, the X on the third one should actually be the same as it was on the first one because that's how far away it is from here. So if this is 20, that should be 20 on the X as well, so 20. The Y is just a touch above 150, so maybe 148. And this X and Y, let's see, this X looks like it's maybe 5, maybe not even 5, maybe 4 is a good number. And the Y should be the same as it was on this one. So the second Y, Y2, is this one here, because X1, Y1, X2, Y2, so this should be 110. And we have the href set, so save, and if we try refreshing, there we go. That, it's not great. Need to adjust it a little bit, but it's sort of there. So you can see it's okay. It's a little lopsided. Really nice on the bottom of that though, but I think I want to go a little bit further. So if we just space these out just to make it a little bit easier, I think I'm going to set this to 0. So it's all the way at the edge. And maybe make it go down just a little bit. Well, no, I think the spot itself is fine. So 0 is fine. Let's make the bottom point go a little bit further down. So instead of 148, maybe like 155. The 20 looked pretty good. Let's see, this is that point there, right? So let's make that go out a little bit further, but I'm happy with the y coordinate. And this one here, the 20s are right, but let's make it go up a little bit higher, so maybe 80. So if we save and we refresh, there we go. It's a little weird looking, but I think it's all right. So then I could do the same down here, and I think I would use that same polygon tool. So that's basically how you do an image map. Now, of course, all of my links are broken because I just have the one page, but that's okay. I could always add them in later.